I'll begin. I think it's important to frame the discussion not in terms of the inherent fear of technology. I think we tend to get very scared about every technology that comes along. Long before Google was making us stupid, Socrates was worried about reading making us stupid, and so people would lose their memories because now all the stuff was written down. I think it's also important to clarify the point that the internet's changing our brains because everything changes our brains. This conversation is changing our brains. So it's not a startling fact that Google is also changing the way we think. And in terms of the impact on the brain, I think it's also important to point out that it's not all bad or even a little bit bad. Most studies that have looked at the effect of the internet on various aspects of cognition that we can measure in the lab, which is a crucial caveat, have found that actually heavy users of video games and even heavy users of the internet actually show increased attention spans. And that's not shocking, because when you play a video game for hours at a time, you're actually building up those very attentional muscles that help you read long books too. It may be tougher for Tolstoy to compete with World of Warcraft, but that's a cultural question, not a question about what's changing in the brain. The last point I'd make is that I think in the great span of how human culture changes the way we think, the internet looks pretty mild at this point. Everything really pales in comparison to the invention of literacy. When we learned to read, we lost about a third of our visual cortex, which is about an eighth of the brain, to letters and words and syllables. And as a result, people who are literate are less good at reading nature. We've lost some visual memory for objects, but we've gained the ability to read sentences. And so the point is there are always trade-offs involved with any new technology. And our job is to figure out how to manage those trade-offs to maximize the upsides and minimize the downsides. But I think it's important to not frame the discussion from the start as one of Google's making us stupid, Twitter's the apocalypse, and Facebook is ruining friendship. Because I think to the extent we have decent data on these questions, the data is very clear that that's not at all what's happening.